When you think Nissan, the first cars that come to mind are the overtly sporty GT-R and the 370Z. But Nissan is now making a play for the booming hatchback market in India, and its weapon of choice is the Micra. Shumi gets us the first drive.
2010 is turning out to be the year of the hatchback. Volkswagen has just launched the Polo, and now it's Nissan's turn. They're going to enter the most hotly contested part of the automotive market with this, the Micra. The car we're driving today is the XV, the top model, and we're going to find out what Nissan is bringing to the table. It's a very, very crucial car for Nissan. It's going to set the tone for what the company is going to do here. And if the Micra is any indication, Nissan is going to be making some substantial cars here. You can love the way it looks or hate it, but there's no getting away from the fact that it looks large. It does sit on a big wheelbase, and the tall bonnet line and the interesting upward kick after the C-pillar both add to the impression of size. On the whole, the dimensions may be close to the Suzuki Swift, but the Micra manages to look bigger. What the Micra has lost in its current form is the cheekiness of the old one. This one appears more mature and purposeful. At the product presentation yesterday, Nissan told us that this is a very good wheelbase to cabin length ratio. What they're trying to say is that on a wheelbase like this, they've got perhaps the largest cabin they could have done. It's not an inaccurate claim. If you look at it, this seat is adjusted for a normal Indian-sized guy, and I do have enough knee room, there's good leg room, I have good headroom, shoulder space is good, and there is a lot of space in the middle of the seat. So if you have 5 passengers in here, it's not going to get very cramped. I have to say, the base model seat is not like this. It's a very flat seat, and I think thigh support will be an issue on that seat. But on the whole, airy cabin, nicely done, looks good. The spacious feel is rather well done. The boot looks large, and generally the finish levels are pretty cool as well. You do feel that there's too much grey plastic though. Even the gear shift knob and the logo on the steering wheel are in roughly the same color and texture. This gets even more pronounced on the lower 2 models. They don't even get the contrast from the music system and the aircon. Nissan has made some very interesting choices when it comes to speccing the 3 models they're selling. All 3 get a standard driver airbag, good, but only this one gets ABS and the second passenger airbag, which is odd because most manufacturers tend to offer ABS on more models than airbags. Nissan is doing exactly the reverse. That said, it is a well-specced model. You've got this nice music system with an aux port to connect up your phone or MP3 player, you're singing. You've got an automatic aircon only on this model. The display is a little funky and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but the AC obviously works rather well. And the really, really cool gadget here is this. This is the key to the Micra XV. It's wireless. All it has to do is be in the car and you use the button behind the steering wheel to start the car. It's an interesting way to get started in the morning. And the Micra rolls along nicely. Initially, Nissan will offer this car with only one petrol engine. The 76 PS 1.2 litre 3-cylinder petrol mated to a 5-speed manual gearbox. The engine has all of the usual friction tackling tricks, plus an offset crankshaft like the Honda Unicorn, as well as a counterbalancer for refinement. 76 PS, 1.2 litre engine, we've heard these numbers. What can the Micra do with them? Well, it can do something with them because the V platform was designed to be light from the off, and this is apparently one of the lightest hatchbacks in the segment. What this means on the road is that the performance is actually interesting. Mid revs, high revs, it does actually go very well. High revs, the engine, you can hear it. It's not unrefined or noisy. It's just that you can hear it working. 18.06 kilometers to the liter, so it's in the economy ballpark as well. I have to say the gear shift, the throws are a little long and it's a little notchy in feel, but I'll put the notchy down to the fact that the car has only 300 kilometers on it, so it's probably new and it'll sort itself out. On the whole, this seems to be a fun car to drive, and when comparison tests happen, I think it'll hold its own. Nissan maintained that great usability in city traffic, maneuverability and visibility were key components in the design, and I have to admit that the tall bonnet will make new drivers surer of their parking. It can also be turned around in a small space, so the urban cut and thrust should be a breeze with the Micra. you first sit in the Micra, you might get the impression that you're sitting in a really tall car. The impression passes though, and you discover that they've got what they wanted out of the car. Handling is really nice, it's agile in city traffic, and at the same time it's stable on the highway. They've crucially not over-servoed the steering wheel. So it's not very light in the city, but at the same time it's not completely feelless either. It's a nice balance. Ride quality is similar. They've got this very deliberate, thorough European kind of ride quality, which feels very impressive to drive. On the whole, I think this car will slot in near the top of the segment, if not at the top of the segment on the dynamic stakes. What you might notice is that the suspension feels a touch soft on the initial stroke, but around corners it doesn't get in your way. Over bad roads, it does a rather nice job as well. Nissan have made some odd choices with the Micra though, like the airbag on all but ABS only on the top model, or the lack of chrome logos on the steering. Further, there are no alloy wheels on any of the models, but these are at best niggles. The missing piece of the puzzle, of course, is the price, which will be announced at the commercial launch in the middle of July. We saw the base spec model yesterday, which aims squarely for the base Swift, the market leader, and if that's the car that they're undercutting and that's the price bracket that they're going for, this will be a very interesting hatchback to watch out for. The diesel engine, if you're wondering, it's coming by the festive season, and in the meantime, Nissan is working very hard to ensure that the dealerships are in place. They expect to have 20 by the time the car is launched and 40 before the year is out. To know more about the Nissan Micra, just pick up the next issue of Overdrive and look for the road test.